Why did the last episode of Runjin suddenly disappear from the schedule? Is this more than a tribute? Jeju air tragedy sparks wild theory. What's behind Jin's smile? The postponement of the 16th episode of the popular variety show Runjin sparked wild speculation after the tragedy of Jeju Air Flight 2216. But is it true that the official reason is only limited to grief? Or is there something else you don't want to reveal, deliberately delayed? Episode 16, Runjin, airing controversy after Jeju air tragedy. What does it have to do with HYB? At times, a single delayed episode can shake up an entire fandom. And this time, the hanging question is not just about showtimes, but about wounds, conspiracies, and one name that is too often silent: HYB. What exactly is going on with Runjin? Why did the 16th episode, originally scheduled to air on December 31st, 2024, suddenly disappear from radar just after the heartbreaking tragedy of Jeju Air Flight 2216? Is this delay indeed a form of respect, or is there something darker and more complicated trying to hide? None of the army thought that the long wait would end in silence. The final episode of the series, which was a celebration of Jin's return to the screen, was abruptly stopped not because of technical problems, not because of production errors, but because of incidents that occurred beyond anyone's control. But the question is now, why is only Runjin postponed? While other content from HYB continues to flow as usual, and in the midst of that fog of grief, on May 28, 2025, HYB actually released Photo Sketch 2, a series of portraits of Jin in various costumes, from fluffy ear flaps to elegant black suits. The visuals are full of laughter, full of color, and full of question marks. Why were these happy portraits released just after the public began to question the disappearance of episode 16? Is it a distraction strategy, or is it part of something bigger? Runjin is not just a variety show. Since it first aired on August 13, 2024, the series has been a breath of fresh air that shows Jin's personal side, from his silliness when playing games to his charisma when facing serious challenges. Each episode brings her together with unique guests, ranging from Kim Donghyun to Hong Jin-kyung. But why, of all BTS's content, only this series was discontinued as a form of respect? Since the tragedy of Jeju Air Flight 2216 shook the Korean public and the world, many media and agencies have chosen a silent step. But in HYB's silence, there was something awkward. The 16th episode of Jin's run is slated as an emotional climax, one in which Jin is said to reveal something personal and that he has never shared on camera. Is it just a promotional strategy? Or was there really a part of him that he was ready to open up to the world? Until suddenly the episode disappeared. The army was also made adrift in speculation. One of the fans wrote on the community platform, "If this is just a form of respect, why is there no official announcement afterwards? Why not reschedule? Why is Visual Genie released as if nothing happened?" And the question resonates. The longer episode 16 lingers, the more people ask, is there anything in the episode that could spark a bigger debate than just national mourning? There are theories that the episode contains segments in which Jin symbolically discusses trauma, loss, even the biggest fear of his life. Is HYB afraid that the content will be considered insensitive to the tragedy of the flight? Or rather, that episode holds something too raw to release to the public right now? While the world waits, another question looms. Is HYB trying to protect the Jin, or is she protecting something bigger? On a world tour titled seokjin EP, the tour announced as the series finale, Jin is said to want to share more personal experiences, even alluding to his decision to go on hiatus and his influence on the group's dynamics. Is episode 16 a bridge to that reveal? And one more clue emerges from a barely missed detail. In one of the photos in Photo Sketch 2, the genie can be seen holding a brown envelope with almost illegible handwriting. Some fans zoomed in on the photo and suspected that it contained initials or a phrase that may relate to the last message he wanted to convey in the episode. Is that a letter? Was it a final confession? Speculation flared when a former Hype variety show staffer posted on an anonymous account that the episode was too honest, too emotional. But the most frightening was the reaction of the public after seeing it. The post was removed immediately, but its digital footprint remains widespread among the community. Could it be that HYB deliberately curtailed airing in order to avoid internal controversy? Or are there invisible things, such as pressure from sponsors, political considerations, or even legal reasons that become major barriers? Ironically, Runjin was supposed to be a light, fun, and carefree project, according to HYB's official statement last year. But now, the series is actually a tangled thread full of question marks. From confusing delays, contradictory visual releases, to the silence of the genie in the last few interviews, all this creates a narrative that is much more complex than it seems on the surface. And as the world gazes at Jin with a bright smile in the latest portrait, many of us wonder, is he really smiling? Or is he hiding something? This question is not only for Jin, but also for HYB, for the entertainment industry, and for those of us who watch from a distance, dazzled but also wounded. Episode 16 Runjin has not returned. But the loss is real, and behind all the laughs, challenges, and teasing visuals lies one mystery they still haven't dared to answer. This is exactly what Jin wanted to tell us, before it's too late. The episode 16 that never came is now transformed into a kind of silent curse. There is something that hangs between the time that doesn't work and the memory that doesn't finish. Many of us think that this is just a technical issue or a timing strategy. But the more days go by, the more it becomes clear that Runjin is no ordinary entertainment show. It is a space that holds feelings, memories, and perhaps wounds that are not given anywhere else. I end the last interview conducted before the launch of Run Seokjin EP tour. Jin had said, "There is one episode that feels like closing the trip. I want people to know that I'm not always as strong as they think I am." The statement sounded as if it was normal, until finally episode 16 disappeared and the public realized, maybe that's the episode he meant. So, why the delay? Jeju Air Flight 2216 crashed just 4 days before episode 16 was scheduled to air. The accident claimed dozens of lives and shook the Korean people's sense of security. And HYB quickly released a short statement that the airing of episode 16 was postponed as a form of respect. However, the most painful question is, why do other episodes from other HYBE artists or series remain released as usual? Why was only Runjin sacrificed? Is it because it's risky? Or is it because HYB is afraid of something that will be revealed? An editor who worked on the post-production of episodes 15 and 16, in a cryptic tweet on his now deactivated personal account, wrote, "We cried while editing it. This is no ordinary variety show. It's like a farewell letter." Farewell? Even though the series still has a tour, there is still promotional content. So, what does farewell mean? ARMY then began collecting pieces of clue from behind the scenes that were released well in advance. In one of the scenes that briefly appeared in the initial teaser, Jin is seen sitting in a dark studio room with one candle lit, speaking in a low voice. But that scene never appeared in episode 15. Was it part of the postponed episode 16? One fan analyzed that the candle symbol in Korean culture symbolizes spiritual reflection and reverence for the departed. Did the genie already know that there would be a tragedy? Sure, sounds exaggerated. But in a world where symbolic messages are often inserted without us realizing it, no theory is too crazy to ignore. Then there is one thing that cannot be ignored. Since the date of the postponement, Jin has never mentioned about episode 16 again. Even in an interview with his last guest in episode 15, Hong Jin-kyung, Jin had said, "After this, I want to take a break. But first, I have to say something." The words were cut. Clearly cut. The editing is rough. The public realized there was an unnatural transition. The missing clip is now the source of all conspiracies. Did I ask Jin talking about something sensitive? There is a theory that he mentioned about his feelings during the period of conscription, when he felt forgotten even by his own company. Jin spoke about HYB's decision not to release one of her personal songs because it was too personal and cornered the company. If that's really the case, does episode 16 contain some kind of code? A small signal that only true fans can understand. Suspicion of HYB grew after they released Photo Sketch 2, with a tone that was so contrasting. Bright smiles, colorful costumes, funny expression genie, as if to assert, "Look, there is nothing wrong here." But that's exactly where the awkwardness lies. If there is nothing wrong, why insert artificial happiness in the midst of a moment full of loss and uncertainty? Some of the army voiced dissatisfaction directly. The hashtag release Runjini P16 was trending in Korea and Japan. But HYB remained silent. No further explanation. No clarification. Only the silence became more suspicious. Silence is like covering something up. Silence makes the wound. Question after question kept rolling in and slowly began to lead to one guess. Is HYB censoring Jin? In some old videos, especially from the promotion of the album Happy, Jin is no. Time passed, but the strange feeling did not pass. And the more ARMY voices their disappointment, the more real it becomes that the delay of episode 16 is not just a matter of time. It's about something that's been silenced. Something that was supposed to touch the heart, but now it's just a shadow point. One of BTS's biggest fanbase admins in Korea wrote a long message that suddenly went viral. We don't need scandals. We just need honesty. If episode 16 is about Jin crying, we want to cry with him. If it's about a wound, let us be where it rests. We are not stupid spectators who just want to laugh. We are also human beings who can understand tears. So, HYB, why are you hiding it from us? The sentence was shared hundreds of thousands of times. Not only on Twitter, but also in Korean forums such as Tittle and Instais. Even the international community on Reddit began dissecting every second of Jin's run, trying to figure out what was actually put up as closure in episode 16. Then, one thing cannot be ignored anymore: the change in Jin's own behavior. After his last promotion for seokjin EP tour, Jin began to look more silent than usual. In a short live broadcast on Weverse, Jin simply said, "I'm sorry I haven't been able to talk about something, but you will understand one day." One day. Those two words felt like a promise too bitter to wait for. Some fans said there was a strange incident during a virtual fan sign in Japan. Jin briefly greeted fans with a big smile, but when asked about the last episode, his smile faded. He didn't answer. But right after the fan sign was over, he closed the laptop slowly and was heard saying, "They've decided. I just stayed quiet." Them? Who is Jin? An internal source working in HYB's PR division leaked to one of the freelance journalists that episode 16 had been screened in an internal meeting leading up to the Jeju air tragedy. There are two versions, he said. The full version is censor editing, and one uncut original version. The original, very touching, very personal. But according to management, too many words can lead to political interpretation and excessive emotion. Politics? Interpretation? Emotions. This is a variety show. Or at least, we've always thought so. Did I end the original leaked version? According to the source, Jin had conveyed a message to other members. Not explicitly, but by analogy. He talked about an old tree that had to survive in the middle of a storm, even though all the leaves fell and the ground cracked. He says, "Sometimes I wonder if the tree should stay standing, or if it should fall for a while to grow somewhere else." Not just analogies. That sounds like a request for permission to rest, to escape, to not be strong. And if it is true that HYB cut that part, it means that there is a fear of emotional impact on the public. But the public is no longer just a passive spectator. The ARMY has evolved into a sensitive, caring, and memory-sharp community. Hiding this episode only adds new wounds. Not only for Jin, but also for those who have given everything to understand every side of him. Still in the EP tour, a staff member of the lighting team anonymously wrote on the forum, "There was a day when Jin asked for the stage to be dimmed. He said, 'I don't want the audience to see me too clearly. Let them just listen.'" This statement gave goosebumps. Because in the world of entertainment that sells visuals, Jin just wants to be heard. IS episode 16 where he finally talks, and if so, why did HYB choose to turn off the sound? More surprisingly, in the promotional visual documentation entitled Run Jin, The Journey, there is one section that shows a scrapboard from the production room. Clearly visible, written with a red marker. Episode 16 concept, open letter, the truth, confession, ending soft noise. But the part appeared only 1 second, and in the official version uploaded to YouTube, it was already cropped. Only fans who downloaded the original version caught it. And since then,